Hi, everyone. I'm Theodore. I'm Chief of Staff in VOX Solutions, and I'm happy to be here with you and address you all with respect to our submission for the ROCCO Innovators. Thank you all for being here, and thank you all for taking the time to listen to our presentation. To start, what I do specifically in VOX is tackle strategic projects. So I have a very close understanding both of our product, but also about our market. And since we're here, we'll ask ourselves generally, what exactly are the issues that are facing SMS, but specifically what does concern us most? To that respect, we are trying to tackle most in VOX Solutions, or we see as the overarching problem is that generally in the growing demand for business communication, for interactions between businesses and consumers or businesses and other business clients that they have, we do see that SMS is losing ground. Now, whether we all agree that that is in a certain percent of another, it doesn't really matter. I think what we generally see as a trend is that the A2P SMS business line is not necessarily set to increase double digits within the next years consistently. And that we see as a problem. Obviously, the main driver behind it is fraud. And while sometimes, fraud lies in the dark, sometimes it's most visible, the idea is that we can probably all of us say that it damages the perception of brands, and not only, it also highly takes a toll on the experience of mobile users or users of different enterprise services. So to that end, while maybe our market is growing, definitely that's the driver is mostly on the price side as opposed to the volume side. And that is a bit counterintuitive, right? Because to that extent, as said, it is the time where communication between businesses and clients is getting more and more frequent. So intuitively, it shouldn't be the case. Now, to frame the issue specifically, what we see is with rising amount of new fraud types, and here I'll say new because yes, we have traditional fraud scenarios, but I think the recent years have brought us different types of fraud. For example, we can say commercial fraud. We've seen the rise of AIT, for example. We've also saw other fraud scenarios that while they seem to rise very fast, but also they have a very high potential for disruption. This hasn't necessarily been the case, but we've reached a very fast-paced environment, I would say, and that is difficult for mobile network operators to cope with. Now, the reason for that is you have a proper solution that works now, but where you have novel fraud scenarios emerging, taking the time to go for an RFP and having the additional budget and resources to allocate towards tackling that fraud, and with a long implementation cycle, it can get difficult for mobile network operators to maintain the quality of their SMS service. So, in one sentence, the issue that we see is the following. In a time where the context for SMS is quite good, we see a trust that is being lost for some enterprises in SMS, which can lead to a point of no return, I will call it. It sounds a bit dramatic, but basically what it means is with a decrease in volumes, a decrease in the revenues of A2P SMS that mobile network operators have is bound to happen eventually. Whether that will be in X number of years and Y number of years, we can all have a different opinion. But when that will happen, the budgets will also decrease. And with fraud picking up the pace, the resources needed in order to maintain this great level of experience while SMS is used as a channel will become more and more challenging. So to that, we see something that's missing in the market that can accommodate this, and that is very simple. Yes, there are many solutions in the market to tackle SMS fraud. Yes, they do all have different functionalities, but what we generally see lacking is a solution in the market to tackle SMS fraud. Not only SMS fraud, but also it has to tackle fraud across channels, right? For example, if you're looking at SMS, you have to also now look at flash calls because, fraud is, you might not be interested only in tackling SMS only. That is dynamic, that is updated pretty much fast as different fraud types are emerging, and which bears little to no cost to MNOs. The reason for that is, as we mentioned, the outlook can look at decreasing budgets, right? With respect to this, we don't know exactly what will happen, but it's pretty clear that, as for example, we saw with AIT and as we saw with flash calling, sometimes the time to answer, right, or the time to implement will be very important within the industry. So ideally, you do have something that, of different updates, new features that tackle emerging fraud types well in order to safeguard customer experience. So, having discussed the problem, I would also like to talk about the solution, or at least the solution that we at VOX Solutions propose. So, VOX360 is our solution for tackling fraud. First of all, it tackles fraud on both SMS and voice. It's proprietary, it's developed by VOX Solutions. So, VOX360 tackles multiple fraud scenarios from traditional fraud type, but I'll spend more time on emerging fraud. So, it leverages upon machine learning and is able to tackle flash calling, not only to block it, but also to be able to monetize flash calling, as well as tackle AIT. Now, yes, these are all growing phenomenon, and they're very important to be addressed properly and at the right time. Because as we've seen, these can all lead to enterprises shifting their focus towards alternative channels. And for mobile network operators, that can be difficult to accommodate afterwards. With respect to our modules and the way that it all functions, VOX360 come as a managed service, right? So we implement it. We also operate it. We have a 24/7 anti-fraud specialist team that is working on it and that services our clients. But generally, the core of our solution, the backbone, really lies in our analytics, proprietary analytics module, our proprietary database, and we also, VOX360 has a firewall for SMS and for voice. It's highly customizable, and it also backs a powerful analytics module that doesn't only give you the ability to spot fraud, but also it has customizable reports and a user interface that can be used to understand the most of the insights that deliver. With respect to this module or how we deliver, I'm going to go back and talk about how one of the issues we see is a possible cost consciousness, or else the need for agility in tackling fraud, and that we believe is something that is getting more and more important, right? We looked at flash calling, and at first, sure, at the extent in which flash calling is used without the partnership of the mobile network operator, in which, while it seemed the technology that we didn't know how fast it will grow, we now see across regions that it has quite high penetration rate. Same with AIT, right? Around 2 years ago or 3 years ago, it was probably 10th or 15th in the list of priorities different professionals in the industry had. Now it's ranking among the top most important ones to tackle, right? Again, we're talking about a scenario which has high potential of disruption, which grew very fast. Now, for example, in order to tackle any of those, we need agility. The answer for that for us is VOX360. Why exactly is it VOX360? Well, first, VOX360 was the first solution to tackle flash. It was the first solution to tackle AIT. And generally, our fraud team is very fast in identifying emerging fraud types, but acting on them, right? And the reason for that is VOX360 is implemented with numerous clients. And as soon as new or rising fraud scenarios become a problem, obviously our clients ask for us to solve it. So we first solve it for them, and then we develop it while we update our solution into solving the issue for the market as well. The business model in which VOX360 comes is, first of all, it's managed service, but second of all, it's a no CapEx, no OpEx model. So it's a model of zero cost for mobile network operators. Yes, it does sound weird for technology, but generally the way it works is first, VOX Solutions implements VOX360. Whether the scope of that is SMS or whether the scope of that is also voice, it differs. But generally, most of our clients that we work with, mobile network operators, choose SMS. I mean, obviously, it also tackle flash calling as part of SMS. Point in which VOX Solutions becomes the exclusive gateway for A2P SMS traffic and takes care that A2P SMS services are provided properly towards enterprises. Now, the reason for that is very simple. I think there shouldn't be necessarily discussion on or providing technology on a CapEx OpEx model. Another model is what is better, because I think it also depends on the context. But for us specifically, what we need the business model for is very simple. Why we believe this is the best business model to employ. First of all, it shortens the implementation time, or the time to which mobile network operators react to fraud. Why? Because under this business model, fighting fraud is not a cost center, but rather fraud is a revenue generating unit, which is a very interesting and important shift within the industry and the time to react. The second and very important thing is that the incentives of both VOX and mobile network operators is aligned. Both VOX and the mobile network operator are interested in the quality of A2P SMS services and also obviously within the volumes and the revenue that generates for the mobile network operator. There's no better way to align this. The second and the third point to add here is we now face something that hasn't really been faced before at this scale with AIT or SMS crashing. Some types of fraud are very difficult to spot, whether if you're just implementing technology at the operator's level. Why? Because they just happened before. So, for example, you can have a great solution, but if you just want to tackle, identify artificial traffic and to fight SMS crashing, that is a lot of it happens in the upstream, right? So by partnering with the mobile network operators and having experience across different geographies and many operators, we also take care of the commercial strategy and can use commercial pillars in order to properly at least get a fighting chance to tackling AIT and decreasing SMS crashing to the extent to which that is possible, right? Because that is a matter not only of, let's say, SMS firewall, but it's also a matter of SMS collection. It's a matter of identifying fraudulent players, which we can use. Obviously, we leverage the technology to do that. And then, sure, the gist of it is commercial strategy, right? So that is why we believe, and we've seen that our business model is most impactful with respect to fighting fraud. We've mentioned that VOX360 is all run in managed service model, right? So our team is global. Our team comprises a lot of experienced individuals with respect to anti-fraud, SMS specialists. It's a team that is remote first. It's a team that is always on call and is working to service different mobile network operators we have, right? Because we're one of these industries that never sleeps. So, with respect to the market implementations and results, VOX360 has been implemented in over 20 networks up to this point in time, and mobile network operators of different sizes, from smaller operations to very large operations across different continents and regions. To that extent, sure, there are customers that we can contact with respect to any questions that you have, but we're also coming here with a very short case study to showcase how the solution works. So just to give you an example, we see AIT as a rising, probably one of the most important rising scenarios that our industry has to tackle, right? And here we have a very short summary of a client that we've implemented our technology in, which is Jawal. So with Jawal specifically, we have worked under the same business model as we always do. So implementing our solution had zero cost for Jawal, but as a scope, it had tackling SMS fraud and also implementing a solution for flash calling, in which case Jawal Palestine has requested to block flash calling as opposed to monetizing it. And that is something the operator has power to decide upon. The specific challenge that Jawal had was it was a high number of tickets and customer complaints with respect to SMS crashing and AIT. So actually, this was at the start when AIT was taking, let's say, the center stage in our industry or the SMS ecosystem. And it was just one of these cases where we also had to learn fast with the clients. So what exactly happened is we've implemented our solution to identify which brands in which AIT is mostly used for, obviously for cases which reach the network as opposed to cases that happen up in the upstream. We also obviously saw the tickets and brands for which SMS crashing was done, right? And then not only by using our solution, but also in collaboration with players and brands, we were able to reduce that. As a result, in Jawal, this stats, the user complaints on AIT decreased by 95% and the tickets for crashing were actually for when SMSs were not received, right? HPSMs were not received, decreased by more than 30%. So this was great to see. They were very happy, and it was very important for us to help our client deliver on this as the mobile user experience, very important for Jawal. With respect to technology, so sure, I've talked in short about what VOX360 packs, but really the core of it is, apart from algorithms, it's our database. We have a proprietary database, of course, for both voice and SMS. We utilize that and update that across all implementations, and it serves the core of our fraud solution. Then we have our proprietary algorithms and other machine learning techniques that we utilize in order to stop flash AIT, but also to look at other fraud scenarios in the market. And with respect to flash calling specifically, we leverage our former experience and background within voice industry in order to get a jump start and also to pour that experience into having implemented and created the first solution to tackle flash calling in the market. And last, I'm going to talk about What exactly did we plan with VOX360? It's very simple. So we're going to focus on SMS protection, optimizing SMS and voice protection for sure. And we're looking forward to looking at regulation and how we can enable regulatory compliance across different regions and individual countries. So we believe VOX360 is a solution to many industry problems. The main reason for that is speed to implementation, because really of all the clients with which we've implemented the solution, we were very quick in making it tackle emerging fraud types, whether they were flash, whether there were AIT. Our existing clients just had the benefit of tackling these fraud scenarios fast. Otherwise, I mean, the alternative is going for additional solutions which need additional resources, additional time for approval, additional time for RFP, and additional time for implementation. And we're just not in one of these spaces anymore where the dynamic is slow, because if we look in the value chain, there are a lot of components of players that have an agile DNA. And fraudsters are also very fast from what we saw recently. So we really need to work together, take ownership, and act responsively in a fast manner in order to prevent the A2P SMS space from eroding or having lost trust as a channel to enterprises, because sometimes that can be very difficult to get back. And it will be a shame given that we have the adequate technology and resources to keep it safe. So I thank you all for taking the time to listening to us. I wish you all the best and have a great day. Thank you.